to Totalis Rankium. This week, Season 2 Draw.
Hello and welcome to Roman Emperors Totalis Rankium. I am Jamie.
I am Rob, and this is Totalis Rankium. I'm all confused, Jamie. What do I say in the draw round?
This is the Season 2 draw for the finale of Best Person in the World.
Yeah, well, we've already ranked all the emperors from Augustus to Augustulus.
That's true.
Yeah, so this is the start of the famous, the infamous knockout rounds. We are dedicating a whole episode to just the draw this time, for reasons why you'll see in just a moment. But is it good to be back with the Romans, Jamie?
It is. It's like putting on a lovely warm blanket. It's wrapping myself in a historical manuscript that just smells like it's been written in a pub.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a nice picture. I can visualise that. Yeah. Cool. Okay, then. Right. So before we get into doing the draw for the rounds, I'm going to go over what the structure of the rounds is going to be. But before we do that, a couple of interesting things for you. We now obviously can tell you who scored the most in Season 2.
Yeah.
Something we didn't talk about in the last episode. Have you any idea who our top scorer for Season 2 is?
Hadn't a clue.
Yeah, I thought you might say that because it's been a while since we've discussed scores. So I'm just going to give you the top 10.
Okay.
On the 38.25 was Maurice, our first French emperor. On 39.60 was Michael VIII. On 40.25 is Andronicus. On 40.65 was Alexius I. On 43.88, Manuel I.
Yes.
Manuel Uno. 44.88, well now in fifth place here, is Basil I.
Yay.
Justinian I. Justinian the Great. Justinian the everyone loves him Justinian comes in fourth place of Season 2. That's not fourth even overall, Jamie.
Wow.
This is just Season 2. On 51.50. He was beaten by his namesake, Justinian II.
That's no-nos.
That's no-nos. He comes in third place with a score of 52.00. Then in second place, with 53.88, we have Heraclius. Remember, he did an awful lot that we were quite impressed with.
Yeah.
But our undisputed winner, with an amazing 58.63,
Wow.
huge jump up in score here, is Basil II, the Bulgar Slayer. Yeah, to have such a runaway winner in the end is quite surprising. And, well, we'll go into why, because I'm not going to discuss that any further right now, because that will be when we're doing one of the rounds. But just know that our Season 2 winner is Basil II. I'm also not going to talk about Season 1 at all whilst we're doing these rounds.
Nope.
This is all about Season 2, because right at the end, we'll probably have a Season 1, Season 2 episode where we recap everything.
8 years of podcasting in 1 hour.
I was thinking we'd recap everything one episode at a time, starting with Augustus.
Well, that's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a good recap. Detailed. Right, okay, so the rounds. Here's how it's going to happen. We have 30, that's right, Jamie, 30 Gene Caesar winners this season.
Wow.
Remember the start of the season, where we were discussing will we get anywhere near as many as Season 1? Blew Season 1 out of the water. There were 23 winners in Season 1.
Ooh.
Yeah, we got 30 this time round.
Are there more Season 2 Emperors, though? So does it actually balance out in a way?
Almost identical in the
Is it?
number of emperors. Yes.
Ah, that's cool. Nice
Yeah,
and
there
neat.
were 170 emperors we ranked in total. And if I remember off the top of my head, I think we did 83 in the first season. And
Wow.
87. That works out the maths, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in Season 2. So yeah, almost identical in length. We just got more Gene Caesar winners. Maybe we were a little bit more lenient the further on we went. That could be discussed. Anyway, the point is we have 30 Gene Caesar winners. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to have 5 rounds. No, not 5, 6 rounds of 5 emperors. And that's going to be our first round. So that will be 6 episodes where we have 5 emperors and we battle them against each other. Jamie, we can only pick 2 to go through. It is a harsher round than it was in the first season.
That's fair.
So, yeah, only 2 of 5 go through. After we've gone through all that, obviously we will end up with 12 emperors. So then we end up with 3 semi-finals of 4 emperors. And I'm going to make it so the winners of the rounds are seeded across the 3 semi-finals. So that'll be good.
I was writing notes.
Yep. Oh yeah, I could see that. Cool. Okay, so you're happy with that? And
Yep.
then you have to win the semi-final to go into the final. So it's tough. These knockout rounds are brutal.
They are.
Yeah. And then we end up with a final with 3 emperors. We will decide the order of our top 3 in the final. So that is 10 episodes to do this in, Jamie.
Nice.
Which we will be releasing. And we will be debating those 30 emperors. However, something I mentioned to Jamie just before we press record, but I'll just ask him the same question now, so it seems like he knows the answer. How long do you think we've been recording season 2, Jamie?
Oh, at the bare minimum, at least 1 year.
Oh, it's been a bit longer than 1 year.
Has it?
It took us about 1.5 years to do season 1, where we were doing 1 episode per week, and we managed to get through with no interruptions. In fact, sometimes we doubled up episodes when there was a short emperor. Season 2 has been different because we've been doing presidents at the same time, so that immediately was going to double the length, but also various interruptions in my personal life and COVID, and it's been just over 5 years, Jamie, since we started season 2.
Wow.
Which is
half a decade.
Yeah, just for season 2. That means it was a long time ago that we did Leo 1.
Yeah.
Which means, I'm guessing, you are struggling to remember some of these emperors.
Yep.
Which is fair. So, what we're going to do in this episode, we are going to draw the emperors and put them in their rounds. We're going to do that at the end. What we're going to do very briefly now, I'm going to spend about 30 seconds on each emperor who won, just to give you a quick reminder of who they are.
Brilliant.
And how I did this is I went into all of their episodes and I listened to just the Gene Caesar section.
Clever.
Yeah. And what I wanted was not who was this emperor. I had a vague idea, I'd like to think. But I wanted to remember why we gave them Gene Caesar.
Right.
So I just listened to that section. And these are the notes I made. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. First up, Leo 1. Leo 1 was the first emperor of season 2. Right at the start. He was meant to be a puppet emperor, but he rebelled against being a puppet. He told Aspar to do one. Do you remember Aspar back in the day? Oh, yeah. He told Aspar to do one, and he ended up finishing the whole run of puppet emperors we saw at the end of the first season. So that's why we were really impressed. So that's why Leo 1 got it. Then we had Anastasius, our second of the Leonid dynasty. He was the old man, remember?
Yep.
He was an old man who was put on the throne. He was 61 when he became emperor, making him the oldest ever emperor when he becomes emperor. We were impressed with his good work on the economy. He put down a bunch of revolts. If you remember this, he went into the Hippodrome when everyone was asking him to be fired and exiled, and he said, "Fine, get rid of me if you want to." And then he paused and went, "But do you really want to?" And the whole crowd went, "Oh, maybe we don't." Yeah. And also, this was the start of Greek fire, maybe. Greek fire prototype was invented at this time.
Now we call it petrol.
Yeah, exactly. So, do you remember him then?
I remember the "Do you really want to get rid of me?" bit.
Yeah.
That's stuck in my head.
I mean, it's a good sign, this, to see how far they're going to get, which ones you remember. Right, Justinian 1, Justinian the Great. Do you remember him?
I remember the name, and I know he was great.
Yeah, you did not want to give him Gene Caesar. Just right off the bat, you didn't want to give it, like right at the start of the episode, just because you don't like popular emperors. But you were forced to admit that he put the empire back together. You then said it was all his general, Belisarius, who did all the work. You then said, and I quote, "Oh yeah, he's quite clever with a few books. He's good at delegating. He gets Gene Caesar for delegating."
That
In a
sounds about right.
quite snarky way.
Yeah.
That's why Justinian the Great got it. I'm going to say it here. Justinian the Great, he's probably going to do quite well. He is definitely a firm favourite. Okay, then our second in the Justinian dynasty was Justin II. You really enjoyed Justin II.
Just the name. So what is he just into?
No, you'll remember exactly who this is at the in the moment. He was the mad one, Jamie. He's the one who got pushed around in the wheelbarrow.
The animal sounds.
And the animal sounds.
Yes.
And he punched the patriarch in the face. Yes.
He's brilliant.
He hidden under the bed from the Boggle. I'll quote you again here. He will get demolished in the rounds, but you had to give it to him for being the first Mad Emperor. I think he might do well as well. Because,
Well, he can just hide.
yeah, and we remember him. He is
Yeah.
definitely one that we remember. Okay, Maurice, French Emperor. We gave him a French-sounding intro music, which was
remember
nice.
that.
Yeah, he impressed you with his fighting. You said he was better than Justinian. You said this several times, quite emphatically. I still maintain that you mainly wanted to give it to him because you thought he was French, and that amused you. He fought back the Avars. It's back when the Avars were around, Jamie. He fought the Persians. He generally did a good job. I didn't want to give it to him, however. I did not think he was good enough. Ooh. So he went to the coin, and he won the coin toss. So,
Well, he's one of his top 10 high scoring as well.
yeah, number 10, wasn't he? So, yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be said.
Yeah, there is. I won that argument.
Okay, then on to Heraclius. You might struggle to remember the name Heraclius.
I remember the name, but I can't picture
You
him.
will remember the story when I start giving you some details. He was the first emperor to beat Aurelian's score, which really impressed us. He became emperor when the Roman Empire was about to completely fall apart and be wiped off the map. He then went to war with the Persians and beat the Persians at last, finally. This was the decisive war, and the Persians were defeated, and then the rise of Islam happened. So all of that gains that he made were then almost wiped off the map. He went slightly mad at the end of his reign because he refused to cross open water, so they had to build that crazy bridge for him.
Oh, yeah.
And we had lots of stories of him fighting giants in the desert and stuff. There's just generally a lot going on with Heraclius. I definitely think he will be one of the front runners. He did a good job. Next up was Constantine IV. You wanted him to have it. I didn't. I did not think he deserved it. This was another coin toss that was won. I'm fairly sure that you've got a coin that is
Weighted
still...
coin.
Yeah. I can't remember anyone losing a coin toss. I just can't. Yeah. So, anyway, he won. You thought he was a hidden gem. He's the first emperor to halt the caliphate after 50 years of Islamic expansion.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't do some good stuff, but I didn't think it was enough. In fact, I'll quote myself here. I just want to go on record. I really don't think he should have it. I then went on after the coin toss to say, well done, Constantine IV. For some reason, you have Gene Caesar because Jamie is in a happy mood. That said, at the start of the next episode, I did give a very brief apology and end up agreeing with you that maybe he should have had it. But we will see.
There we go.
I'm guessing he's going to struggle in the rounds.
Yeah.
Next up, another big contender. It's Justinian II, Justinian No-Nos. Yeah.
That was an epic story.
Well, how do you forget that story? He was exiled, he had his nose cut off, he fought off assassins with his bare hands, he gathered together a group of people, I think one was called Stupid Dave or something, and that was his genuine name. That wasn't one we made up. And he took back the city. There were reports of him being a mad tyrant. His death is pretty much the end of Macbeth. Because he had someone's family killed and they came along and chopped his head off. And his son was ripped from the altar and beheaded. It was what a story. And he had to go through. So, Justinian II. Theodosius II, opposite end of the spectrum almost here. Oh, sorry, Theodosius III. Do you remember Theodosius III?
No.
Is the lowest scored Gene Caesar winner.
Oh.
Not just in Season 2, in Season 1 as well.
Oh.
Yes, he is the reluctant emperor. He was just a man who was forced to be a figurehead for the revolting Opsikian troops. Remember the tax collector who was just doing his job and the troops came through his village and just went, you're called Theodosius, you can be the next emperor. Yeah, and then he was dragged off to the capital, forced to sit in a siege that he had no understanding of. And then when the troops won, he was forced to be emperor. And then as soon as Leo III declared himself emperor, Theodosius III went, can I quit now, please? And everyone went, yeah, okay, you can quit.
Why the hell did he get Gene Caesar?
Because we thought it was a really funny story.
Fair enough.
Yeah. We just thought it was ridiculous. It had shades of Didius Julianus.
Right.
And we learnt our lesson by not giving him Gene Caesar in the first season. So we decided to give it to him. I believe you said he will be used as a human shield in the rounds.
Yeah.
Which probably will happen.
Well, you probably, even in the rounds, you probably go, I quit, I'm out. Is that okay? Yeah, all right.
You're not allowed to quit in the rounds. You race to the death.
Oh, okay.
Ben-Hur style.
Fair enough.
And then we had Leo III, the guy who usurped him. We were impressed he turned the empire around. This is at the end of the 20 years anarchy. Everything's going crazy. And Leo III comes around and just sorts it out. He was a shepherd boy, if you remember.
Yeah.
And the emperor came past and he was looking after his sheep. And he just gave his sheep to the emperor. And his name was Conan to begin with. And, changes his name to Leo and just becomes a badass. Rises through the ranks until he's emperor. I said not amazing, but impressive. Because there were some aspects of his rule that were not the best, but generally pretty good. Also, iconoclast stuff is starting to come in at this point, and we marked him down for that.
Yeah.
But there you go. Irene is our next one.
Come on,
Yes.
Irene.
Yes, our first female emperor, which is impressive in of itself, but also did some stuff on her own to make her stand out. She blinded her own son, remember?
That's pretty brutal.
That is pretty brutal. You said no to begin with because there wasn't enough interesting things going on, but then I made the argument that as a woman she had to work twice as hard, 10 times as hard as any of the male emperors would have had to do just to get there, and you went, that's a very good point, and yeah, she went through. So that's Irene. Okay, onwards. Now we have a Nikephron emperor. This is Leo V. This is the guy with the best death. If you remember nothing else about Leo V, you will remember...
Church,
yes,
one.
yes, you've got it. You've got him
Christmas
standing
Day.
on an altar on Christmas Day, fighting off assassins with a cross.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Also, you might have forgotten, this is the episode where we come across the prophecy, with someone making a prophecy that Leo would be emperor. This is the cave that's up a pole in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so all that's going on at that point, so that was good. Next, we had Theophilus. Now, I'll admit, whilst putting all these together, Theophilus is the first one where I went, ooh, I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper to remind myself who this guy is, because I was drawing a blank with Theophilus. We just thought he was a really nice person. We weren't sure whether he should get it. We went to and fro a bit. He was a good ruler. He wasn't amazing at fighting. He was just one of those, decent rulers, basically.
Yeah.
But one thing that swung it was his deathbed scene, where he had a general called Theophobus, and he didn't really trust the general, so he ordered his general's head be cut off just before his own death. And the head was brought to him, and Theophilus picked up Theophobus's head, looked at it, and said, from this moment on, I am no longer Theophilus, and you are no longer Theophobus. And then he dies. Your reaction was that. So... Yeah, Crumb is around at this point.
Crumb!
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Baghdad's on the rise. All of that stuff's going on. It was just generally quite interesting, if I remember correctly. Okay, next, Basil I. Basil I gets it. Of course he gets it. He had an impressive life. Peasant to emperor. Started a new dynasty. Maybe it's debatable whether it was his dynasty. Generally a good ruler. Also had a very good death. He died in that hunting scene where he was dragged around for hours.
The boar.
With the stag.
Or a rhino.
Yeah.
Stag. That was
Stag. Horned. Yeah. Antlers. One of those.
Something.
Yes. Yeah. So, Basil I, just generally a very strong contender. I think he will do well. Next up, we had Romanos I, another peasant to emperor. We were not certain whether to give it to him. We liked the story. If you remember, he fought a lion when he was a young man.
Yeah. So they say.
So they say, but we got a lot of detail with him fighting a lion, so we put it in. But more interesting was all the political intrigue at this time. It went all very Game of Thrones. This is where you had his sons Stephen and Christopher plotting to exile their own father, and they did it. He gets exiled, but then the public turn against them, and they get exiled just days later, and they turn up on the island, and their father's just there looking at them, going, what the hell did you just do? Yeah. So that was all good. Next up, we had Nikephros II. He was just a very good fighter. He impressed us with all his fighting skills. He took back Cilicia, Cyprus, and Crete. I believe we theorised he was going alphabetically through the empire.
Yeah.
Trying to take things back. Yeah, we were mostly impressed with the story of his death and the political intrigue in his episode when his general and friend killed him in his bedchamber. Do you remember the story where they were going through the palace and they were all dressed as washerwomen?
Yes.
And he was there on the floor praying when they broke into the bedchamber, and then they sliced his face half off with the sword, and then his friend told him that, "You're useless, man. I'm emperor now." Anyway, we really liked that story, so he got it. And then we gave it to his general and friend, John 1, immediately afterwards. Again, that story of the coup, we really enjoyed both sides of it. We thought John was slightly better than Nikephorus, so we gave it to him as well. Generally a good emperor. And then, Basil 2. That was 3 episodes in a row, because these 3 all came in a row. Top scorer, already mentioned Basil 2, the Bulgar Slayer. He was co-emperor while Nikephorus and John were really in charge. But then he grew up a bit. He ruled for 50 years, which really helped his score.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why he got that runaway score. He was a very good emperor, plus he got the bonus score. Yeah, he cut out all those eyes, which got him a good Opprobrium Crazium score, but it was constant warfare, and he won a lot. He did a lot of good stuff at home as well. Generally, we were impressed. Basil 2 is going to be up there as a firm favourite amongst many people, I'm sure. Okay, next we've got Eudocia. Eudocia doesn't always come on the lists of emperors, but I put her there anyway because she really impressed me. I was impressed with her political fighting. She didn't do much, but she outplayed our source Cellus. Do you remember Cellus?
Yes.
He stuck with us for a while.
Yes.
We were really pleased with him to begin with because he gave us lots of detail, but by the time we got to the end of his stuff, we couldn't stand the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just die.
Yes. Or maybe I was just impressed that Eudocia outplayed Cellus. She had been married to Constantine 10 and then Romanus 4. She was regent for a while after this. She knew she was going to be couped politically.
Yeah.
So she arranges it so the person who did the coup would actually support her son. Basically, she organised, by subtly manoeuvring things politically, she organised the next coup against herself to ensure her family survived. And that just impressed me. You didn't want to give it to her. You said it wasn't good enough, so it went to the coin toss, and she won.
See, it's not weighted.
But no, she won. They keep winning. Although, to be fair, I was checking all the ones that won, so there might be some bias there. Yeah. But I don't remember anyone losing a coin toss. I really don't.
It's happened on occasion, but not very often.
Anyway, you said, and I'll quote here, she will be tumbling out of the chariot early on. That's probably true. She's going to have her work cut out for her. Okay, Alexius I is up next. We both agreed that he was a very good emperor. He was very well sourced, remember?
Yeah.
We've got his daughter writing an entire book about him. We've got more about this guy than any other emperor in all of history. It's the first emperor I had to treat like an American president in terms of there's too much to get through. I'm just going to have to pick and choose areas to go into. Yeah, he improved the empire in all areas. He did a good coup, but we were perhaps a little underwhelmed. I'll quote myself here, it's unfair to be this good an emperor and not get it, but it wasn't one we were going, wow, that was amazing. So we will see. John 2 was Alexius's son. You went for it straight away. We mostly gave it because he carried on his dad's good work. We start to see a bit of a mini golden age here. He was fighting the Normans and the Turks. We agreed that Alexios and John wouldn't last long in the rounds, but it's like they did a good job. Then we get to Manuel. Yes, the grandson. That's right. That's 3 in a row. The Komnenos dynasty, which is what we're in, did very well. There were 5 Komnenos emperors, and 4 of them got Gene Caesar. Yeah, so this is the
good inning.
This is the third one, the grandson of Alexios, the son of John. These 3 in a row lasted for 99 years.
Wow.
And generally, they were just all good emperors. And by this point, it's like, well, if we've given it to his granddad and his dad, we've kind of got to give it to him as well, because he's carrying on the good work. All the crusading stuff is going on in the Holy Land. This is the Second Crusade, one of the big ones. Roger has decided to go move to Sicily and invade at this point. Yeah, so all that's happening. Then we skip one Komnenos and we go to Andronicus, the crazy Komnenos. Andronicus is going to do well. He scored 20 in Opprobrium Crazium. He was a firm favourite of yours whilst we were doing it. Multiple prison break stories in one episode, all of them with exciting twists in. He deliberately annoyed the Emperor by sleeping with as many of the Emperor's relatives as possible.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was just a good episode. It was fun. I can see Andronicus doing well. Okay, then we get to Alexios 4. We gave it to him because he was so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, He sold the empire to the enemy. This is the crusade that brought down Constantinople.
Yeah.
The reason they went to Constantinople was because Alexios IV escaped the capital in a barrel, went to the crusading states and went, yeah, of course you can have Constantinople. I'll sell it to you. And we decided that actually Gene Caesar is not about who the best emperor is.
No.
It's about someone who stands out. And being arguably the worst emperor in all of Roman history, we decided to give it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will quote you, he will be decapitated in the first 30 seconds of the race.
Yep.
Yeah, so he probably won't last long, but he's here.
No. And that's a challenge because you don't often have swords in a chariot race.
We're playing Ben-Hur rules, believe me. There's going to be swords, there's going to be spinning blades of death, all sorts going to be going on. Each emperor gets to choose which animal pulls their chariot. It's going to be great.
Oh, yes. Alexios, bunny rabbits.
Rabbits are mammals of the order Lagomorpha. They were classified as rodents.
Alexa, shush. I can see the misunderstanding.
Yeah. I had a moment of, why did it do that? It's like, oh yes, now I understand why it did that. Anyway, next up, Theodore. We're now in exile. Constantinople has fallen. We're now with the Nicaean emperors. Gave it to Theodore because he was the first one in exile, and he was the reason why it didn't die. The podcast would have ended by this point if it wasn't for him. So yeah, you were impressed mainly that he kept the idea of the empire alive. So. Yeah, he gets it. And then his successor, John III, his son-in-law, gets it as well, because we're impressed that he kept the Nicaean Empire alive and kicking and ahead of the rival successor states. I'll quote myself here, if it wasn't for Theodore and John, this series would have ended. So, yeah. So we've got a couple there. And then we get to our final dynasty. It's quite a long dynasty, the Paleologos dynasty. 4 people got it in this dynasty. We got Michael VIII. He was the first of the Paleologos ones. We debated this, we weren't sure. You leaned to yes because he brought the empire back and recovered Constantinople. I argued he didn't deserve the credit. It was Theodore and John who had done all the hard work, and then Michael IV swept in at the end and took the city after it had all but fallen.
Yeah, well, we gave it to Justinian and he didn't deserve it either, didn't we?
That's a good point. It almost went to the coin. I relented in the end and went, I suppose so. He did get the capital back. So we went for Michael VIII, but I can't see him lasting too long. John VI at this point. Which we did before John V, remember? This is where it starts getting confusing.
Is this where one of them got killed in a...
Oh, no, we passed that period
right.
of history. Yeah, you're thinking of the 2 sisters, aren't you?
Yeah.
Theodora and Zoe, aren't you? And the 2 sisters, and yeah, great period of history, but we didn't give many Gene Caesars out at that time, because everyone was a bit useless. No, this, John VI was the really good general. He won 2 civil wars. He lost the 3rd. The empire's falling around him. The Ottomans are on the rise. He keeps trying and fighting. He just keeps the empire ticking along just. This is, if you remember, where the vague geographical triangle of knowledge was being drawn.
Yeah.
It was that civil war there. I just really, really liked him. I liked researching him, and I liked him as a person, even though there were some dodgy things he did. I'll quote myself, I know deep down he probably doesn't deserve it, but I just like him. You said no. I said yes. It went to the coin. He won it. So,
Yeah, fair enough.
I liked him, but the coin ones probably aren't going to last too long. Then we had Manuel Dos.
Dos.
Yeah. We enjoyed his episode. We enjoyed how cool he was. But realistically, is he going to last? He went on the tour to save the empire. Remember, he went to Paris, he went to London. We were impressed with his political skills fighting the Ottoman princes. When the Ottomans had dominated for quite some time, he managed to just keep the empire going. I, in the end, said no. You said yes. Went to the coin. He got it. And then finally, we've got Constantine XI, the last guy. He got it in large part for being the last guy, but he was actually pretty good. We were expecting a sort of damp squib at the end, a bit like Augustulus, but no, actually, Constantine XI was pretty good, and he went down fighting. He went down with the ship.
He really did.
You got to respect that. So there you go. Those are our 30 Gene Caesar winners. You're going to get to know them a little bit better as we go. But do those now ring a bell a bit more?
Yes.
I'm hoping at least most of them, even if the name was a bit hard, you were recognising the stories.
Yeah. And that's a
Yeah.
helpful thing. Yeah.
Well, the thing with season 2 was so many names that are the same. It's not like season 1. It's so much harder to get hold of which John is this.
Yeah.
Or which Leo is this. So, interestingly, 11 Constantines, Jamie. 12, because obviously 3B.
Yeah.
We gave Gene Caesar to the first Constantine and the last Constantine, and we gave him just to Constantine 4.
Right.
I really don't think he deserved it, and you were in a good mood that day.
Yeah.
Turns out that Constantine had more emperors called Constantine than anyone else. Turns out they weren't that great a bunch.
No.
No,
They tried to live up to the original name. Didn't work.
Yeah, failed. Right, anyway, here's the moment that I'm sure everyone's been waiting for. It's time to pick the rounds, Jamie.
Okay.
And how are we going to do this? Because last time we were physically in the same room together, we just put their names in a hat and we drew them.
Yeah.
Wow, we can't do that. Or we could, but it would just be one of us doing it and the other one watching. But I've come up with an ingenious way to make it collaborative. Jamie, I want you to draw a 6x5 grid, and I want you to label the rows A, B, C, D, and E, and I want you to label the columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We are going to use the battleship method of choosing rounds.
Like that.
Perfect. Right. So now all you need to do is send your torpedoes over my way and see which emperor you hit.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. The first... we're going to keep it simple. The first 5 are going to be in round 1. The next 5 are going to be in round 2. So this way, it is completely random. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
D2.
D2. You have just hit Romanos 1. You have hit Romanos 1. He goes into round 1. Remember, he was the peasant to emperor. We liked his story.
Yes. E6.
E6, you have just chosen Michael 8. The start of the Paleologus dynasty. Got back Constantinople. Okay, next up.
A4.
A4, the paper emperor. Anastasius, that is Anastasius the old man. Right at the start. Good with the economy. But will he get through round 1?
Let's find out. C4.
C4, the explosive emperor. That is John 2. That is Alexios' son. Did some good work.
Yeah.
Bit of a mini golden age.
And last one, B1.
Oh, we've got John 2. We've also now got John 1. John 1, that is the emperor who did a good coup, killed his friend Nikephoros too. That round 1 is Romanos 1, Michael 8, Anastasius, John 1, and John 2. What's interesting about round 1, there are no big hitters in there at all.
No. Interesting, isn't it?
I'm guessing some emperors in round 1 are going to be very pleased.
Yes.
I think round 1 might be known as the easy round.
Yeah.
Okay, round 2.
I'm going to go for A1.
A1. Oh, and now we've got a big hitter. It's Justinian 1. Justinian 1, Justinian the Great.
Let's go for E2.
Ooh. Okay, this round is already going to be far harder than anyone else. Justinian 1, and now Justinian 2.
Ooh. Let's go with B3.
B3. That is Manuel. Manuel 1, remember, the grandson of the 3 generations that all got Gene Caesar. Yeah. I mean, he's pretty good, but he's going to struggle in this round with the 2 Justinians in. Okay.
D5.
D5. D for duck. D for duck. 5. Oh. It's Justin 2, the Mad Emperor. This is turning into the round of death.
It really is for him. B6.
B6. And it was nice that Eudocia turned up. That's all I'm going to say. So, round 2. Oh, it's going to be a tough one. That is Justinian 1, Justinian 2, Manuel 1, Justin 2, and Eudocia.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know where we're going to land with that one, because there are 3 emperors in there who all deserve to go through to the semi-finals in my mind, and we can only choose 2.
Yeah.
That's the way the rounds work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, round 3.
Round 3.
Let's go with C2.
C2. Oh, it's a good job you didn't say C2 just last time, because that is Basil 2, our top scorer. Already round 3 is looking tricky.
Let's go with E4.
Is Leo 3. Sorted out the 20-year anarchy. He was called Conon. He was a shepherd boy.
Yeah.
He's a strong contender. He was good. Okay, next.
D1.
D1. The Reluctant Emperor, Theodosius III. He's going to struggle against Leo III and Basil II. I'm just going to say that. Yeah.
That's fine.
Next.
Let's go for A5.
A5. That is Theodore, first of the Nicene emperors. Oh, you see, he was good. He was good. Was he as good as Leo III? We will see. And last one.
Let's go D3.
John III. So that's John III, as in Theodore's successor. So
Yes.
you've got the two Nicene emperors in there together.
Hey.
Oh, that's a shame for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. Okay, so round 3 is Basil II, Leo III, Theodosius III, Theodore, and John III.
Nice.
Yeah, lots of threes in round 3. Gotta like it. Okay, we're halfway through. What's round 4 going to be?
C6.
C6. It is Manuel Dos on his tour of Europe.
Let's try A6.
That is Constantine IV. I'll see whether I still am not impressed with him during the rounds, I suppose.
B2.
We have our first of season 2. That's Leo I. Stopped all the puppet emperors.
Yeah. Let's do E3.
E3. Ooh, Andronicus is going to be happy because this is a fairly easy round and he's a standout one. The Mad Emperor. Well, the Prison Break Emperor. Yeah. And lastly,
D6.
D6. That is Alexios I. Alexios I. Who? He was a decent emperor. That is Andronicus is to lose that round, I think, and I honestly can't say who's going to go through with him. It's a fairly simple round, unlike round 2, round of death.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got 2 more rounds though.
Have we done B4 yet?
B4, no, we have not done B4 yet.
Excellent.
Is that what you want to choose?
Yeah, B4.
B4, okay, so round 5, we start off with Theophilus. Theophilus with his death scene holding his general's head up.
Yes. Let's go A3.
That is Alexios IV. Alexios IV, just to remind you, is the worst emperor in the whole thing. So, looking good for Theophilus so far. Yeah. Who's next?
Let's go with D4.
Irene blinded her son.
Let's go C3.
C3. Ooh, everyone in this round is going to groan because Heraclius has just joined them.
And last one, I think, C1.
C1 is Nikephoros II, which, he was all right. He was a good fighter. Is it good enough to go through? Again, you've got a clear winner in that round, I think. I'll be very surprised if Heraclius doesn't win it, since he was our second highest scorer in the series. But today, second place, we will have to see. Yeah. So that means that we've got our final ones, which I could just read off, but you know what? It's more tense if you say the things. So let's go on. You call the order.
B5.
B5 is Constantine XI. It's our final emperor. Went down with the ship.
C5.
C5. Basil I, peasant to emperor. Generally a good story.
E5. Missed a lot of fives.
John 6. I just like the guy. Do I like him enough to get him to a semi-final, though? We will see.
E1.
E1. It's a good death. It's a very good death. It's Leo V on the altar with his cross.
And last but not least, A2.
And our French Emperor, Maurice. Okay, so for round 6, that is Constantine XI, Basil I, John 6, Leo V, and Maurice. Interesting. I'd say we've got one round of death. We've got a couple of tough rounds and a couple of really quite easy rounds. Just so I can go through this then, just to be really clear, round 1 is Romanos 1, Michael 8, Anastasius, John 2, and John 1. That has to be the easiest of all the rounds, surely. You're going to be happy if you're in there. Round 2 is the round of death. That's Justinian 1, Justinian 2, Manuel 1, Justin 2, and Eudocia. Poor Eudocia. Round 3 is Basil 2, Leo 3, Theodosius 3, Theodore, and John 3. Some respectable people in there. Of course, you've also got Basil 2 as our lead score, so probably looking good for him. Round 4, you've got Manuel 2, Constantine 4, Leo 1, Andronicus, and Alexios 1. Looking good for Andronicus there. He's a clear favourite, I'd say. Round 5, Theophilus, Alexios 4, Irene, Heraclius, and Nikephoros 2. Looking good for Heraclius. And then round 6, you got Constantine 11, Basil 1, John 6, Leo 5, and Maurice, a fairly low one there, I'd say. You're going to be relatively happy if you're in that group.
I think so.
So there you go. We now have our rounds. This is how it's going to play out. Our next episode will be all about round 1, and we will be deciding which 2 of those emperors go through. I will be putting this table up on our social media sites, but I'm going to leave it maybe about a week just so those of you who are listening in real time get to hear the draw live. If you are on our Discord, I know for a fact that some people are already organising some kind of equivalent of a fantasy football thing where they're all predicting who's going to win which rounds and stuff. Ooh. I think they might be drawing names out of a hat, so you have to support someone. They're doing all sorts on the Discord. Nice. But generally, we will, I think, be having a listener's version going alongside our version. So you guys can make your own decisions. Right, so there you go. The rounds are set. We are ready to go. It's time to get the chariots out, Jamie.
Polish up those wheels.
Yeah, and let's visit a zoo so we can have a wide selection of animals.
Excellent.
Pulling those chariots.
Nice.
Excellent. Okay, great. Right, all that needs to be said then is...
May the race continue. No, may the race start. Go!
I hope that becomes tradition, and that is how every race is started.
Just the announcer getting really frustrated.
It has to be that intonation every single time.
Yeah.
Right, okay, yes, goodbye.
Goodbye.